Welcome to Deerhound Productions. I'm DaneCat33, and today, we're going to be discussing the origins of some of Fazbear Entertainment's most iconic and most obscure characters. The newest FNAF installment, Secret of the Mimic, takes place in 1979, and puts us in control of a Fazbear technician named Arnold, tasked with retrieving schematics from one of Fazbear Entertainment's contractors, Edwin Murray. With the game set so early in the timeline, it allows us to see early versions of some of our favorite characters, along with the reveal of their backstories and how Fazbear Entertainment acquired them in the first place. To start, the character with the most screen time and importance to the game out of this whole list is none other than our favorite pizza-eating bird, Chica the chicken. Her role in Secret of the Mimic is as one of the main suits the Mimic will wear. And though the suit doesn't give the Mimic any crazy advantage like long arms or lava resistance, it does allow him to do a little jig. You go, Mimic. Costume aside, let's dive into the origins of this character. Throughout the game, you can find concept art, flyers, and promotional material for a restaurant named Chica's Party World. These are easiest to see in the admin wing since there's Chica memorabilia scattered all around this area of the building. If you look closely on the bottom left of a Chica's Party World membership card, you can see a small text that says Chica's Restaurants. Using this, we can conclude that Chica's Party World, and by extension, Chica herself, are a product of the Chica's Restaurants brand. Now, who is the owner of this brand, and are they the real Chica? I have no clue. For all we know, they could be a giant chicken. But what we do know is that at some point before the events of Secret of the Mimic, Fazbear Entertainment bought out the Chica character from the dying brand and added her to their main cast of characters. Evidenced by a prototype Chica appearing in the Murray's Costume Manor mock-up Freddy's within their research and development. Another main member of the Freddy Fazbear's band has their origins revealed in this game too. And that bandmate, or should I say shipmate, is Foxy the Pirate Fox. He's yet another iconic character and an important member of the Fazbear band. Though recently, this poor guy has been almost entirely absent in games such as Security Breach, Ruin, and Into the Pit. He's just referenced via props and posters. His only appearance in the most recent games has been in Help 1 and 2 during the log ride level. Though Secret of the Mimic amends this by giving our favorite Pirate Fox his very own puppet show, where we're introduced to his whole pirate crew. Here we meet Boston the Badger, Kit the Fox, Bernard the Chef, who is also a fox, Roxy, who we'll cover in a bit, and Captain Springlock, who's simply referred to as Captain. Though Captain Springlock does have a better ring to it. Anyways, Foxy being part of this pirate crew likely means that he was originally an MCM character made by Edwin and Fiona Murray. Though it seems like Fazbear Entertainment bought the character from Edwin, since we can see him in the research and development FNAF 1 Pizzeria. But I'm sure if they could, they would have just stolen him for free instead. Now on to the other familiar member of the pirate crew, Roxy. Similar to Foxy, Roxy, as previously mentioned, was part of MCM's pirate crew, though Roxy's start as a character was much earlier than you might think. When exploring Edwin's Victorian-looking house on the hill, tapes showing David's birthday are scattered around the hook-filled home in different vaults. In one of them is a reel that shows David's first birthday and a freshly made Roxy puppet. After putting it on, Edwin interestingly refers to the puppet as he.
Wow, Fiona, he turned out great. I think it's your best one yet.
Though as we know from Security Breach, Roxy's a girl. All I can say is that you go, girl. And anyways, back to the video. It's possible that Fazbear Entertainment could have acquired Roxy when they purchased Foxy. Or the more likely option, they used her in Security Breach, since it's implied by Afton that they acquired MCM and their whole catalog. While on the subject of Security Breach, another modern character whom we learn the origins of in Secret of the Mimic is Monty. Though he doesn't have a speaking role like Roxy or Foxy, he still shows up in the game multiple times, under a slightly different name. Similar to how each generation of animatronics has different titles, the one this Monty uses is Jug Band. Taking a look back to Ruin, in the Monty Golf Gondola ride, we can see that Jug Band Monty is indeed his origin, though he looks much less like a hillbilly there. Interestingly though, this Monty isn't the only one we can see in-game. Deep underground, in the research and development for the FNAF 1 Pizzeria, using a cranked open curtains where Pirate's Cove usually would be, reveals a prototype Springlock Monty. Though unlike the friendly, cartoonish one upstairs, this one uses proportions and segmented body parts that we're used to in the FNAF series. It's mentioned in Edwin's audio logs that Fiona made the original Freddy's gang before Henry and Afton changed the characters to animatronics, rather than spring-lock suits. So it seems like originally, Monty was going to be a member of the Freddy's gang. Moving from Monty onto his equals in the jug band, Mr. Hippo and Happy Frog. We'll cover the Hippo first. Though his name not being the same doesn't disprove that he's Mr. Hippo. In fact, it actually makes more sense than you'd think. One of the logs you get from the MCM mailboxes is from an unnamed ex-employee and another ex-employee named Stan. Though the name might not immediately sound familiar, if you think all the way back to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, one of the available catalogs you can buy animatronics from is called Stan's Budget Tech. Though this might sound coincidental at first, when you read the message and see what set of animatronics is in that catalog, things start to click in place. To quote the log, "We need to go. Me and Stan are out of here. It's time to jump ship before things get ugly. I have a bunch of Fiona's character patterns and Stan is taking what he can. Join us. With everything we know about the restaurant project, we can start our own machine shop." Adding on to this, in Pizzeria Simulator, the animatronics sold by Stan's Budget Tech are the Mediocre Melodies, which means two things. One is Stan and this other unnamed founder successfully used Fiona's stolen designs to start a business. And two, the stolen designs definitely included Mr. Hippo and Happy Frog. Though if we wanted, we could take this a step further and conclude that both Orville and Nedbear were also stolen from MCM. Orville is the most obviously stolen design due to all the orange elephants with purple hats around the factory. And Nedbear being a stolen character is pretty obvious too, considering Stan and his other unnamed associate knew about the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria diners. They most likely used Freddy as a base for his design, and Fredbear as an inspiration for his name. With all of this in mind, only one Mediocre Melody is remaining without MCM inspiration, and that's Pig Patch. However, in MCM, there's a pig animatronic in cowboy attire, simply named Lasso Pig. While you could say Lasso Pig more heavily resembles VIP, which I agree with, it makes more sense that before VIP, the design was used by Stan to create Pig Patch. Moving from the Mediocre Melodies onto someone who's pretty similar, that being Mystic Hippo. In Secret of the Mimic, poor Mystic Hippo only gets a mention in Big Top's winners area. But this does tell us that she's a much older character like Monty and Mr. Hippo. Her being this old, however, could mean that she was at Fall Fest, which could have some interesting implications. But we'll save that topic for another video. This also explains why the MCM button manifests on her machine in Help Wanted 2's Secret of the Mimic teaser. Speaking of Fall Fest characters, it's time to bring up everyone's favorite duo, Sun and Moon. Secret of the Mimic gives us a lot of information about them. Cutouts of the two can be seen in the welcome show, but only one of them appears physically. The other, though, is only shown on a screen. What we learn about them, however, is from a place called the Storytime Theater, the basement, and an old computer game named Moon.exe. In Moon.exe, you take control of a kid stuck in his room and hunted by the moon, leaving you to use your items from the inventory tube system to escape its clutches and leave your home. Later on in the game, you encounter an old woman in a cabin that has 3 broken masks in need of repair. She's even wearing a mask, though hers isn't broken. After examining the other mask, it's clear hers is much more special. Her mask has much more detail put into it than the Freddy, Bonnie, and Foxy masks. It features sun rays and a sculpted face. After this appearance in Moon.exe, we don't see Sun again until F10N4 shows the mask on the screens above it in the research and development segment of the game. This, along with almost the entirety of Moon.exe, implies that the Sun and Moon are parallels to Fiona and Edwin. Big Top even says Fall Fest is where the Sun left, after you give him a ticket for the event, tying back to Fiona's death there. Our protagonist in this game is also pretty clearly a representation of M2/The Mimic. Later in the game, Helper says that we've rebuilt ourselves, but have now been split into 2, Moon and Sun, Destruction and Life. This parallels how after Edwin damaged M2, he rebuilt himself, but is now 2 entities. The innocent copy of David and its rageful personality that was created as a result of Edwin's attack. The Sun gives our character a mask created from the now dead baby owl, seemingly a parallel to how F10N4, the robotic copy of Fiona, tried to replace David with M2. After the Moon sees us with this mask, he cries, similar to how Edwin was upset when M2 was mimicking David. This all makes it pretty clear that the sun is a representation of Fiona slash F10 and 4, and the moon is a parallel to Edwin. But judging from what Helper said, the sun and moon are also parallels to the Mimic himself. The moon.exe ending even features us using the data diver to fix the Mimic, similar to how in Ruin, Cassie used her Faz wrench to repair the sun and moon. Shifting focus back to Secret of the Mimic's gameplay, we see the terrifying moon costume in the basement of the retail showroom, as a wandering, singing mascot.
Lay thee down now and rest, may thy slumber be blessed.
Interestingly enough, he doesn't make any mechanical sounds or have any mimic distortion on his voice, meaning he's most likely possessed. We can find a message from an employee who was trapped down there long ago. He likely starved to death and possessed the moon costume. But to get back to the main point, both Sun and Moon originate from MCM, and were likely stolen by Fazbear Entertainment for the Mega Pizzaplex establishment. While on the subject of animatronics in the Pizzaplex, we can't forget to discuss the grandfather of DJ Music Man, Big Top. In Secret of the Mimic, Big Top is an even more humanoid variant of Music Man that has 4 giant steel arms used for holding signs, massive bright spotlights for eyes, and 4 thinner arms coming out of his tent-like body to take tickets. Unfortunately, there's not much room in terms of lore in this game. However, it's safe to assume that because of his carnival theming, it's likely that he was made for Fall Fest. You even give him a Fall Fest ticket in Moon.exe. Though after the closing of MCM, a former employee must have used his design for the creation of Music Man. It's very possible that it was our good old friend Stan who did this, but in Pizzeria Simulator, Music Man is sold at the Rare Finds auction, rather than Stan's budget tech. And it makes you wonder how many ex-MCM employees stole these designs to make animatronics out of. Next thing you know, a rip-off Hedgehog Huggy will appear in the next game. Back to Big Top, where else have you seen those tiny metal hands before? That's right, on the staff bots. Yet another security breach animatronic. Though the similarities to Big Top aren't what we'll be discussing. What we'll be talking about is the similarities between the staff bots and the Digityper, or as some of the more mature viewers may know him, Ted. Upon first glance, the similarities between the Digityper and staff bots are strong. The similar head shape, the simplistic designs, and of course, the bulky base. Also, both these animatronics replace human employees. The Digityper replacing HR and writing notices of termination, and staff bots replacing, well, basically everyone. And speaking of robots doing human jobs, next up is the wet floor bots. Wet floor bots, or Pat-Pats, definitely take inspiration from one of Edwin Murray's earliest inventions, the Cleanovac. They have a very similar head shape and body. Instead of the wet floor bots vacuuming and dusting like the Cleanovac, they'll zoom over to any spill and alert the staff bots to come clean it up. While on the topic, the Cleanovac was one of Edwin's first inventions, and it's very important to him on a personal level. Another character who appears all throughout the game and is super close to him is the flailing white and yellow bear, Mr. Helpful. Placed in all the major rooms in the MCM facility is a friendly little bear animatronic that gives you lots of helpful information, hints, and tips for your next objective, whether it be repairing an elevator or assembling a spring-lock suit. Although many of these roles also apply to Mrs. Helpful, the wife of Mr. Helpful. She's voiced by Fiona Murray, while Mr. Helpful is voiced by Edwin Murray himself. What's interesting though, is that when Fazbear Entertainment used the Helpfuls for their very own character, they combined them to make Helpy. Helpy is the same white fur as Mr. Helpful, and the pink accents of Mrs. Helpful, almost like he's their baby, which would make Helpy somewhat of a representation of David Murray. But since Helpy was created by neither Edwin or Fiona, it's more of a Joda Cujo situation. Either way, Helpy being their official child or not, Fazbear Entertainment used what's almost the exact image of the Helpfuls, who used to be a proud reflection of the Murrays, to now be their tiny, cute pink and white mascot. Even up to Ruin, Helpy is being used by Fazbear as a little AI companion that helps Fazbear technicians do their job. Speaking of which, in Ruin and Help Wanted 2, Helpy is implied to actually be the Mimic, or to be controlled by him. In Help Wanted 2, Helpy tricks the protagonist into reassembling Glitchtrap's code, which results in the security mask being delivered to Cassie, and setting off the Mimic's plan in Ruin. There, his eyes sometimes turn orange just like the Mimic's, and he helps Cassie release the endoskeleton. The Mimic using Helpy makes a lot of sense, when you consider that the animatronic was created as a replacement for David Murray. And Helpy appears to be the son of Mr. and Mrs. Helpful, aka Edwin and Fiona. So the Mimic, who was originally a replacement David, using the son of the Murray's characters as its persona is very fitting. While on the subject of Ruin, the final character relating to MCM is Candy Cadet. Similar to the Mediocre Melodies, Music Man, and Helpy, he was first introduced in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. During the game, he tells stories relating to the lore, and later, he returns in Ruin. This time, his story served as a parallel to the Mimic copying Gregory's voice to trick Cassie into releasing it from the sinkhole. He also came back in the following installment, Help Wanted 2, where his story served as a foreshadowing of Helpy deceiving and killing the protagonist. Candy Cadet returning in these installments makes sense, since the pizza place from Pizzeria Simulator is the main location in both entries. But with the reveal that MCM built him, his return takes on a whole extra layer of significance. His first appearance in the Steel Wool games is Ruin, the same installment where the Mimic properly debuted, and I think his return is directly tied to the animatronic. Both are creations from MCM, so Candy Cadet being present as the Mimic becomes more prominent is likely due to their inner-wound origins. It's not super important, of course, but I think it's cool how Candy Cadet has returned to tell us stories relating to the new villain, who was made by the same company. Oh, and before we end things off, we have to mention a character who wasn't seen in Secret of the Mimic at all, but was still acquired by Fazbear Entertainment at some point, and that character is El Chip. Because he wasn't in Secret of the Mimic, nor any games aside from Pizzeria Simulator and Ultimate Custom Night, we can take those tiny slivers of lore and conclude that Fazbear Entertainment definitely bought him and his restaurant, El Chip's Fiesta Buffet, sometime before Security Breach. And that's basically all we know about him. And that's also everything we have for this video. We hope you enjoyed learning all about the origins of Fazbear Entertainment's characters. And if you did, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining our monthly membership. It helps support us, and you get a bunch of cool perks like shoutouts in our videos, custom emojis, badges next to your name, exclusive looks at upcoming projects, and more. Thanks for watching, and check out some of our other videos.